Okay, so we want to allow our players to be able to continue the game if they, for example, lose all their lives and have to quit out of the game, or if they just, generally speaking, quit out and go back to playing the game at another point in time. And to do that, we're going to create a very, very simple continue system. Now, all we want to do is basically say we're going to store a variable, which will be the name of the current level we're on, and then we're going to add a continue button here that will check if there's any variable available that has that name stored within it. And then if that's available, make the button appear, and then we'll load up the name of that level. So first of all, we're going to add a continue button. So I'm going to copy our start button here, and I'm going to rename, make sure that it says continue instead of new game. I'm going to rename it to be continue as well. And then we're going to move it up so it's above our new game button, because generally speaking, that's where these things are normally placed in the hierarchy of things. Then I'm going to load up my main menu script I created. Now again, this, as I discussed in the previous video, this main menu script is pretty much the same as what we used in our previous project. So now what we're going to do is add a new function to allow us to continue our game. So we're going to create a new public void, and that we'll just call continue game, and we'll put that down here. And then here we're going to say all we want our continue game to do is to go into our scene manager and load up. So scene manager.load scene, and what we want to load is a player prefs dot get string. So we want to get a string variable, and we're going to call this string furthest level reached. Okay, so we know what our continue button is going to do. So let's now say how we're going to make our button appear on screen. So obviously we'll need a reference to our button. So here we'll say public game object continue button. And then what we're going to do is in our start function, which I've removed from our main menu script when I was creating it by default. So let's add in our normal start function. So that'll be void start, like that. As we know, our start function happens as soon as the game is loaded. So what we'll do is do a check and see if this player prefs key already exists. Then if it exists, then that means we're after setting a value into it, which means there's a level that we can load up. So that means the continue button should appear. So we'll say up here in our start function, we'll say if player prefs dot has key, and the key we want to check for is furthest level reached, like that. We want to make sure that we spelled it the exact same as we did here, and it looks like we did. Oh no, that shouldn't be a semicolon, that should be another bracket. And then if the player has key exists, then we want to set our continue button to be active. So we'll say continue button, well, if I could spell it properly we'd be okay. Continue button dot set active true. So that means our button will be activated as soon as the game loads if there's a key available for us to load to. So I'm just going to save this, and let's go into the game. And because we haven't set a key yet, we're going to make sure that it doesn't activate the button. So we'll just let it compile, and then I'm going to disable the continue button on our little main menu here. So we'll let that do that. So our continue button is gone. If I hit play now, we'll see, perfect, we have no button being activated. So that's perfectly fine. But how do we activate the button, and how do we set it so that our players can actually return to a level? Well, very simply, what we're going to do is load into our game manager script, and in the start function we're just going to add a very simple line of code to say as soon as we start up this new level, then we're going to store in the player prefs, so player prefs dot set string, and we're going to set the furthest level reached string. We're going to set that to be whatever the name is of the current scene that's loaded. So the current level is loaded, we're going to set that to be here, in our first level reach string. So we'll just say go into the scene manager, and of course to access the scene manager, because we haven't done it before on our game manager, we need to go up the top and say using unity moving my arrows around a bit too much, using unity engine dot scene management. So we can scroll back down, and now we can go into our scene manager dot get active scene dot get active scene, and then we want to get the active scene's name. So just like that, we're storing the value into our player prefs, and that'll let us be able to continue the game from our main menu screen. So to see that in action, we can save this and go back into the game, let it compile. So if we play from the start here now, and start our new game, so we'll start off in level 1, and we should get going, we can play away, and at this point the level that we're on should already have been saved. So what we can do is say, okay, we've got to this first level, so let's quit out of this. So I'm just going to quit out of our game running, and now when we start running again, it'll look and see, has our first level reach been set, and if it has, oh, we haven't assigned the continue button. Let's go to our canvas here on our main menu. We're going to drag the continue button in there, but you can see from our error it was trying to access the continue button, so that means when we play it here, we get our continue button appearing on the screen just the way we want it to. So that's absolutely perfect. But of course now if I hit continue, once it loads, we continue with the previous lives and stuff that we had before. So what we want to do is just add one little thing in to say in our game manager here, sorry, not in our game manager, in our main menu, we want to make sure, much as I've done when you start a new game, we want to set whatever values we're storing between levels, like for example how many lives our player has, how much score the player has. We want to set that when we press the continue game button here. So I'm just going to copy the stuff I already have here. Oh no, not cut it, I want to copy it, and I'm just going to paste it in there, so it'll work the exact same as if we were starting a new game. And basically we're saying, okay, if you continue a game from wherever you were, you lose your high score. You need to be able to set a really high score, you basically need to start the game from the beginning, which is pretty standard for these kind of classic side-scrolling shooting games. So we'll save that, pop into the game, and of course when we play and we go to continue our game, we'll see that we'll have our 3 lives and we won't have any current score. We'll have 0 score. So perfect, that's exactly what we want to do. Just get through this first bit of level and we'll see then. So okay, well no, this is far enough. So we've lost a life now, just as an example. Let's see if I can kill this guy, if I can manage to kill him. So we're down to 1 life. Actually, we'll stop here. So just as an example of our continue button actually working properly, because we didn't see it, because we had no score and 3 lives to start off with anyway previously. But we'll see now, we were down to 1 life. So if I hit play and actually continue the game now, we'll go back to our same level, but I'll be back up to 3 lives and of course back to 0 score. So we continue, there we go, we're back up to 3, 0 score. So perfect, that's working exactly the way we wanted to do. So the only thing left to do now is to build the full game.